Hi, my name is Cris Krusen, and I greet you where you are in Thailand right now. I would have liked to have been there with you, but I couldn't make the trip. Cal and Carol Conkey asked me if I would share a few thoughts with you and some of my experiences in the film that I'm currently engaged in, a film to reach people in Bosnia, and talk to you about it. Well, it's interesting how we can be spiritual and we can be practical as Christians. On the spiritual side, I have been feeling called to do something in Europe, going back to even before I knew Cal and Carol. And then as the heat grew on that desire to do something in Europe, I became practical. And I began to ask, well, where is there really a need for a film to reach people in Europe? And we could joke and say, well, all of Europe needs the Lord. That's not a joke, of course, but so many countries are in need in a post-Christian continent virtually. But we know that there's a tremendous need in Bosnia, and not just because of the war that occurred there, but because of so many people who have no personal relationship with Christ and identified as such. Much less than 1% of the population of Bosnia is without any personal, the people without a personal relationship with Christ. And it was Cal and Carol who directed me to Bosnia specifically. And so then I began to research Bosnia. Nothing, nothing greatly spiritual about that, but more roll up your shirt sleeves and study, find out more about it. I began to read books and read everything I could about the country. I didn't know a soul in Bosnia. And with the help of the internet, I came across a missionary here or there, reached out to a few here and there, didn't get much response at first, and then, a little glimmer of light here, a little glimmer of light there. I spoke to a pastor. I got his number off the internet, found out that he had done some mission trips to Bosnia. And we had a great conversation for half an hour. He gave me the names of a couple, and then he sent me a book that featured this couple in the book. I read the book. One thing led to another. I got that couple's phone number. Perhaps it's like being a detective, and you follow the trail. Follow the clues. And all of this came to a head in September of 2012 when I made a trip in person to Bosnia. I had never been there before. I did not speak the language. But God provided a Swedish young woman to accompany me on that trip who spoke the language, and she translated for me. She knew a lot of people there already, and I had lined up a lot of people to meet through my internet research. We spent 1 week in Bosnia. We traveled the length and breadth of the country, and I met a person through the Swedish girl. I call her the Swedish Sacagawea. If you're an American, you know that Sacagawea is the Native American who led the Lewis and Clark expedition to the Pacific Ocean. Without her, they would never have made it. And so, with her help, I met someone who has a wonderful story of how she came to know Christ, a woman of a Muslim background in Bosnia. And we're telling her story. I'm about to start writing the screenplay about her story of how she came to know Christ. And it's just a wonderful story. It's riveting and powerful. I won't go into any great detail, but I'll just say she was someone who was contemplating suicide. She was pregnant, 8 months pregnant when she tried to take her life the first time, and then a few weeks later attempted suicide again. Fortunately, she did not die. She had a vision of Jesus, and she came to know the Lord and gave birth to a healthy child. Well, obviously, that's just the surface of the story. But to give you an idea, that's a true story that I found in that 1 week going by faith in Bosnia, somewhere I'd never been before, with the help of a person who had a heart for the Lord and was willing to help me and translate for me and guide me. And now I'm at the point of, I'm about to start the screenplay. So that's an exciting process. And I want to encourage you. I don't know you, obviously. I don't know your stories. I don't know where you've come from or what you hope to do. But as I was thinking about what I would say when, right before we did this taping, I thought of the story of when Jesus walked on the water and the disciples were in a boat on the lake. And as I recall, he was walking on the lake at 2 or 3 in the morning. And at first they thought it was a ghost. They were terrified. And then they recognized him when he spoke out to them, "It is I, don't be afraid, don't be afraid." And Peter, being Peter, cried out, "Well, Lord, if it's you, call me to you." And Jesus said, "Come." And Peter, being Peter, got out of the boat. And Jesus, being Jesus, Peter walked on the water. And who knows how far he went, but he walked at least some distance, and then he became afraid. And he started to sink and cried out, "Lord, help me." And in that same instant, Jesus was there to grab him by the hand and pull him up and save him. And what I want to say to you, aspiring filmmakers in the audience, is be willing to take that risk and step out of the boat, because Jesus is calling you. As he calls me, he is calling you. He's calling all of us who know him and who call upon his name to reach this world for him, because he died on that cross once for the sins of all. And now it's our job, it's our sacred duty to bring the message of the gospel to those who have never heard. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because you're called. And let me remind you of this quotation from the great German writer Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who said, "At the moment of commitment, the entire universe conspires to assist you." Well, at the moment of commitment, to take the gospel to the unreached with audiovisual media, films, slideshows, whatever it may be, I don't know. In my case of film, at the moment of commitment, God is there to assist you and me. So thank you. I pray you'll have a great conference, and I thank you for this opportunity to share with you a little bit of my journey and what we hope to do for Christ in Bosnia. Thank you.